Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome to the tier list of the lobby themes in Arknights contingency contract. I've listened to all of them officially now. I did get the response of I'm listening to the wrong version for CC0. So here's a clip of me reacting to that prior to all of this. Yeah, this is worse. Anyway, let's get right into the tier list. Let's get going here. I have a little list of notes and stuff to follow from what I have listened to in the past, and I've revisited them all this morning to be able to refine my opinions on stuff, and I think I've done a pretty solid job at doing so. So, without further ado, let's start off with Barren Lands. CC0, this boy right here, going in D. that might be the reason, but as you just saw, I really didn't care for the other version. It just kind of sounded like alternative Metal Gear Solid background music, and I'm pretty sure that that is all just background music for the actual game mode. There is such a dissonance in what is the Barren Land theme. So I just kind of went okay and went with the only official one I had, which was the one that was on the fan wiki, and I was just like, cool, this must be the version. But apparently people are not agreeing on that, so I just, for that reason, it's in D. It wasn't the best song anyway, but because nobody can seem to agree on what is the actual theme of Barren Land, I'm just gonna put it down there. It is the worst archived. I couldn't even find any detail on this song, really. So, for those reasons, I couldn't find the real version. It's going in D. It's basically just an accidental D, but it's a D. So, up next is CC1, Pyrite. Now we're starting to get into the more interesting stuff. Pyrite is going in A, because I loved the way that it had space. It felt good. The space, the fills, the little deviation from what is like a conventional song that you would find in that genre was just really fun to listen to. I wouldn't quite call it an S, but it was an A for sure. So there we have Pyrite sitting in A, all happy and proud. Well deserved, in my opinion. Up next might be one that people are a little bit like, why is it that low? But I'm putting it in C. I don't think it's a bad song at all. I don't want to make it sound like it's a bad song. It was actually almost in B. I have a little note down here that's B for Blade Lamau. But I changed it to C purely because as I went through the list, other songs were slightly better. And I'm like, okay, so I've got to make some sacrifices to make the balance of the list a little bit stronger. I don't want everything to be an S or an A because otherwise it would be. But I loved the folk rock genre blend. I think that works really well. It had great variance in a media that you'd be expecting rock, metal, and like electronic to be dominant in. So I respect that this song doesn't do that, and it just is itself unapologetically, and it has a good energy all the same. So in that, I think it's a great song. It was almost a B, but just because other songs were better, it ended up in C. So as far as Blade goes, pretty solid song, all things considered. For C, this is Cinder. This one's going in C as well, for Cinder. I believe that this song was really well done. Sonically, it was very unique. I loved the way it sounded. It had some, it had some elements in there that I really did enjoy, like the writing, the tight harmonies in there. It was very smooth and intelligent, and I loved that was how that song felt. I didn't feel overwhelmed listening to it. I didn't feel whelmed listening to it like I have with some other songs on the list. I was just enjoying myself. A lot of people don't like this one because it's too calm, it doesn't have a lot of energy, and I understand that for sure. But for me, this song was actually very well handled, and I respect the effort put into the composition overall and getting the sound to be the way that it is. It was a solid composition and a great mix. So it's a C that definitely doesn't deserve a D. Alright, Lead Seal. Here we are. This one is our first S. If anyone saw my reaction video, you know why. I loved this song so much. It hit all of my biases. That disco funk dance groove, I love that stuff. It's so simple and fun to listen to, but it is so energetic and so lifting. It just pulls you like straight into a positive mindset, and that is something that only this bridge of genres can manage to do, in my opinion, and it's just a perfect composition for that reason. I loved the way that it is, and I love the way that it was. And while I haven't played the game, I immediately saw myself like, yes, I want to listen to this more and constantly be on the app and ready to play. I got that immediately. I understood the hype right off the bat. So that one is our first S because it was an absolute fire bop, all right? CC5, Spectrum. This one is also going in S. I loved the way that Spectrum felt. It is just an absolute bop. The whole like Eurodance inspired flavor of it. It was super inviting. It didn't make me bop quite as hard as Lead Seal did, but it was still a great song. It had me vibing the whole time. I was just bouncing and dancing. And it's just, that's a good energy to bring when you're about to play something. You don't want to feel depressed or bored, you know, you want to have high energy, and this song definitely brought that for me. So right up there, right S. Another one that hits a lot of my biases, and of course, being a tier list is of course going to be heavily leaning into my biases. All right, so Wild Scales. This one is going in A. I am an absolute fiend for Latin beats. They run through my ears like mad. Like, it would be an S if it weren't for the other two prior songs being more of a bias flip for me, and just a little bit more dancey, a little more boppy. I say bop a lot. It's a fucking good song. Don't get me wrong. I loved it. I had a good time listening to it. It's well written and it's well produced. But the other two were just so good, you know, that it almost whelmed me in a slight way, but it was still way better than some other songs on the list. I know this list is probably confusing to a lot of people, but there are a lot of things to weigh when you're talking about the opinions of certain people's song tastes and their genre preferences. And this is one of those things where I love Latin grooves, but it didn't quite hit me as hard as the other two did. So it's still not quite up there. All right, so Pine Suit, one of the first CC songs I had heard. This one is also going in A. So Pine Suit is one of those like songs where I love the genre, I love the vocalist, the way that it had some very unique drum fills in there, and the rhythms throughout were just super tight. It's like 10 out of 10, would add to my playlist, and I have added it to my playlist. It's one of those songs where it's just like, I like everything about this. There's nothing technically wrong with it. I just wasn't grooving to it quite as hard as some other songs in the S tier ones. Otherwise, again, it would have been up there. But in sake of balance, I can't put everything in S and A. I've got to make some sacrifices and some hard decisions here. So just deal with it. This is my list, not yours. All right, Dawn Seeker. This one is an absolute bop. It is the definition of vibe, and that's why I just put it in S. So it is a beautiful synthwave track. It's got great lyrics and vocals. It drives you straight through the end like a passenger on a midnight highway. It is so good. It is so good. I have, again, added this one to my playlist as well. A lot of these I have, to be honest. They're just super fun to listen to. And I've always had a bias for synthwave. It's something I have a special setup for on my drum streams. It is something that I've enjoyed for many, many years, and I will for many, many more. I love that song. I've got nothing more to say about it. It's just a great synthwave song. End of story. All right, CC9, Deepness. This one might shock some people. It's going in B. Now let me defend my, don't start freaking out. Don't freak out. I would have put this one in A. It has still some of the best production of all these songs. Like, it has great use of panning, the space, in the headphones, and just the sound just engulfs you. It is so pretty. I love this song's production quality. The value there is insane. It is immense. However, we're not just talking in production alone. The song itself was fine. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't nearly as energetic or fun to listen to as some of the other ones that are above it. So I just put it in B, where I felt like was a safe middle ground. If this were a rating based on production alone, hands down, this song would be an S, 100%. But if we're looking at it as a package and relating it to some other songs that are in the contingency contracts, this one doesn't quite hit as hard for me. So that's why I'm putting it slightly below. I hope that doesn't bother too many people, and I hope you understand where I'm coming from there. But I like the song. I want to make that clear. It's still good. But we're not just judging here off of production value alone when it comes to, is the song just quite as good for what it's trying to be? And in my opinion, some other songs were a little bit better at that than Deepness was. That's why it's in B. We good with that? We good? Okay. CC10, Ash Ring. This one is also going to be in B. It's not a bad one, but it is like pop incarnate. And I've heard too much pop in my life to be like, wow, I love this song. Wow, I'm interested in hearing more of this. Like, it is very safe. That's not a bad thing, but it's nothing I would write home about. It's like, I would find myself listening to it on repeat, you know? Like, I don't think I wouldn't listen to this song, but I don't think I would add it to a playlist. It's something where, like, if it were to turn on the radio and I were to hear this song, I would not turn away from that station to go to a different one, you know? I enjoy the song, but it is exactly what I hear all the time on the radio, and that's completely serviceable. But it's not unique or fun enough for me to put it any higher than B. I think where it is exactly where it belongs. Maybe sliding on that scale of A to B just because it is a good production. But for me, being heavily overexposed to pop, I kind of got bored of it as I was listening to it. Albeit I can understand and respect the direction they took for it. I think it's a good song still. That's why it's not any lower. However, let's get to Fake Waves. It's going in D. I don't have to say anything more about that song. It was very boring. If I may explain as to why, it's Dollar Store Fox Stevenson. If you don't know who Fox Stevenson is, he's just an electronic music producer. His songs are fun and great. They have great energy, but they're better produced. This song sounded like Fox Stevenson gave them a demo that he didn't want to release, and then they mixed it poorly. There was no high end there. It felt like an Angry Birds theme song, as everyone said. I didn't really hear that to begin with because I never really played Angry Birds. Not really my thing. But I understood that opinion the second that I saw that opinion. I'm like, yeah, it kind of does have that energy, doesn't it? And so does a lot of Fox Stevenson stuff too. A lot of his stuff is high energy. It feels like it's a game theme, but he's a good producer, so it ends up feeling good. Surrounded by giants, a song like Fake Waves is going to seem small, you know? And in this scope of what is on this list right now, it is hands down the weakest production and the weakest lyrics. People might disagree, but they're objectively wrong because I am right, as we all know, 100% of the time, and you're not allowed to have your opinions. I'm kidding, of course. This song is still, like, there's a reason that there's not an F tier, because I don't think it deserves an F. It's okay. It's not a bad song. But again, compared to everything else on this list, it is the weakest in pretty much every aspect, if I may be so bold as to say so. CC12. The first one I had ever heard, the first exposure to the contingency contract, is A. Not S. Not S. It's alright. It's pretty good. I like the genre. It was well made. It was well written. It was well produced. It was held back exclusively by some genre stereotypes in the song. I don't hate the genre, for the record. I love like deathcore, metalcore, everything in the metal genre. I listen to it on a regular basis. Some a little bit more than others, but this is definitely a genre that I hear a lot of, and I play a lot of on the drums even though my doubles are pathetic. I do believe that this song was held back almost exclusively by the vocals. There were some points in the song where I'm like, why is he screaming here? It feels a little unnecessary. It almost sounded a little too like Bring Me the Horizon, which isn't a bad band, but is a band that has pretty much just engulfed everything that people think that this genre is, and it's gotten a little bit tiring. Other than that, I think the song is great, and that's why it's still at A, because I don't believe it deserves anything less than that. It's very well made overall, and I enjoyed it, and I still do. I listen to it on a pretty regular basis. So, yeah, I count that as a win. Alright, so I know that was a lot of thoughts all at once, and I do talk pretty fast. I'm sorry if that does bother some of you guys, but I hope you enjoyed it all the same. My tier list has been created. I'll actually leave this template down in the description for anybody who wants to utilize it or make their own list and share their own opinions on it. Go for it. I am going to now move on to other songs as well as more Arknights stuff, because there's plenty more of that to listen to. Also, side note, for those who made it to the end of the video, there is going to be a soft launch of my Patreon page, just a waitlist version of it. The full actual release of my Patreon will happen at some point down the line. But if you want to support me on Patreon, you can join the waitlist to be notified when I actually do release that. If you want to be there right away, feel free to join it. Feel free to show support. If not, completely fine too. I get it. All the same, people have said that they want to support me, so I made avenues for that to happen. I'll be adding a Ko-fi soon enough, but I started with Patreon just to get used to the whole process of setting this up and working out some kinks on the way. But I digress. That's not what the video is about. I am done making my tier list, and I am done with the lobby themes. So we're going to be moving on from here. Thank you all very much for watching. I am going to go to work now and slave away for hours until I can return home to record yet another video. All for you. I love you.